Ooh. All right, y'all. Welcome to the first Artivist Talk with my brother Bonafide Rojas. We're gonna get him in here, and then we're doing what we gotta do. Let's see what we got. Appreciate y'all. Shout out to Ruby. Shout out to House of Nova. We got England in the building. We got the Bronx in the building. Yes, yes, the superstar himself. There he is. There he is, my guy.
Talking about people in the back. I'm not a superstar.
Oh man, my dude, Well, I appreciate you, bro. Thank you again for taking time out of your schedule to do this. You inspired this whole series, by the way. You know what I mean? Just so you know, you'd be surprised, man. You're just an amazing dude. But before we get into that, would love for you to just introduce yourself and whatever's on your mind and spirit, however you want to introduce yourself. I know a drop in the bucket of the ocean that is Bonafide Rojas, but it always is best coming from you. I'm just here to hold space, and I resonate with you on so many levels, though our times have been few and far in between. What we were speaking on moved my spirit, and I just, when I get a inspiration like writing or anything, we have to take that inspiration and turn it into something. So I appreciate you. Yeah.
Hello, good afternoon, good morning, depending where you are, good evening where you are. My name is Bonafide Rojas. I'm a poet and a musician. I'm born and raised in New York City, specifically the Bronx, and yes, BX all day. And I love talking about the creative process, right? I think that's how you flesh out the ideas. I've been a poet for almost 29 years. Next year is like my 30th anniversary when I started writing poetry. And I've been a musician for about, I'll say 25, even though the love for music has been there for a really long time. When I really wanted to start playing guitar and things like that, so poetry's always been, poetry is I think, I'm not going to say it's an easier art form. I say it's a more affordable art form. That's like, because I wanted to be a painter first.
Wow.
Yeah, I really wanted, I did graffiti, and I still do graffiti, don't ask anything else. But I was a graffiti writer, and I went to art school, and I wanted to be a painter. And I remember, like, when I was 17, I lost my black book. I lost my black book. I had like 30 sketches in there, like really like abstract stuff that you can't really recreate. And when I lost it, I was like, I'm just gonna go write poetry more, and that led me down the journey of it. And I still have a deep appreciation for art. I think it trained my eye in a particular way, and that's how poetry came about. Because all you needed was a pen and paper. That's all you needed.
Man, I appreciate you. So even right there, the welleth run deep, as I said, and I consider you an artivist. And just for those who turn in, it's people, it's a hybrid word. I've heard it first come around in eras, Bell Hooks era in the 60s civil rights movement, about using art and activism. Now, for me, activism is beyond politics. It's just about activating our organisms to its highest potential and following your journey. And one reason that you struck me as an artivist, I was like, man, this brother's still going. Meaning, I think I met you around 09 or 2010 at workshops. And there was a legendary thing that you said in that workshop. I don't know if you remember. It was at the point with Inti Kali. Shout out to Inti. And that was, I knew of your work. I've seen you at Neo Rican before. You're a well-established artist, like you said. You're 30 years in this, so I've seen you through the open mic scenes, through the hip hop scene, and just different circles. But when you were in that workshop, I saw, and it was when I was just kind of getting into my stride with connecting my artistry to community work, and I was like, man, you said something about tribe that I always remember. Tribe Called Quest, for those who may not know. You were like, man, I'm from this era, I'm from the city, and I stand behind these art that influenced me. And he said, watch, you were telling the youth, watch when you're 10 years later and the Nickies or whoever become that was before you, you will stand and defend on the art that inspires you. And that was so big for me, because I think as we grow, we not only grow forward, but we grow like both deeper into our roots
Yeah,
and
exactly.
deeper into those things. And once again, I've seen you on many scenes, but what does artivism or activism mean to you is the first question I want to start out with it. You know, how does that connect? I've seen your work in so many ways, but like I connect you to as a community person because I see you doing the community work. And I know that's integral to your artistry, to the books you've written, to all these things and the work. You still are knee deep in the community serving and not just selling tickets, trying to get views and all those things. And that's not no shade on any artist who's like that, but your path was different. So, you know, take that how you feel, my brother, and just elaborate on art and activism and the role it's played in your creativity.
Well, I think as a as an artist of color, right? As a person, as a man of color, as a person of color, being Puerto Rican, being New Yorican,
Mm-hmm.
you know, loving and respecting the Black experience in the United States, I did feel a sense of defending culture
Mm,
a way that may have been co-opted by other people. I felt it was necessary to defend culture when it was being whitewashed, when it's being commodified and being sold back to us. And you know, politics. You know, you know, being political, however, being radical, whatever word you want to use. I mean, that came the same time I started writing poetry. And
mm,
my forefront into writing was completely aligned with me being radicalized. You
mm,
know, and there does come a time when sometimes artists who are activists may have to choose either or.
mm.
But I also tell people that being an artist is is a political form.
Yes,
It is.
yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
I feel what I mean by that is I always want my art. I always want my art to be a the most political thing I can do until I'm ready to like sacrifice my body on the line. And
Mm,
and and because you know, there's always that conversation between people who are paid to organize and then
mm,
people who volunteer to
mm.
organize. And there is a different directive in that on who is, you know, like why are you here per se. And I'm not saying either or is wrong, but there is a
Mm-hmm.
different philosophy on that. And so for me, there was a point in time when rhetoric was just too much. So I'm just gonna do my art the way it is and keep it sincere and keep it grounded in what I do, and never let it be commodified. And you know, I've always been real particular about that. You know, like you said,
Wow.
I mean, it's like selling tick. I mean, look, everything is a business, but it doesn't necessarily need to be a business. You
Mm.
know, and that's always been my thing of like keeping these things really like when it comes to the band. No, the band wants to sell
Yeah.
tickets, right? Because a band like that is a pure entertainment faction of what I do.
Okay.
That
So
I
you're
can
able to,
that I can
yes, spectrum.
politics into it,
Mhm.
but poetry for me has always been a little bit different.
Wow. So you were able to do that. That brings me to another thing about your roots. You mentioned some amazing things as were you born in New York, Puerto Rico, or
Yeah,
were you born in Bonican?
I was born 5 minutes away from my house.
Okay, so you're a boogie down Bronx native New
Yeah,
Yorker. I'm a native New Yorker from Jamaica, Queens,
yeah,
and we've seen this city. We live in a in and out city, right? People come in and go. I love what you said, meaning that your art in its inception was a form of radicalization.
completely.
It was, and I felt the same way as someone who was just creating from a place of healing, creating from a place of understanding myself. I love what you said, and then you were able to widen your spectrum through your different mediums. I heard you mention visual art as well as the music that you do. And how are these different elements dancing and connecting with you? Because I see them all as one, right? What I call it is we're living in an omni-dimensional time right now where it's not about, oh, I'm going to separate my left hand from my right hand. Nah, we are striving to encompass things. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation more openly to document it because your story is so important. Because when I saw you, to me, I met you under the guise of community work and poetry, right?
Yeah,
And it took me back to OG Leguizamo, Miguel Piñeros, the history of these legendary folks that carried a torch for our city, right? And my family's from Guyana. I'm from the West
My
Indies, you know,
best
so
friend growing up.
you already know. So how did the culture, because it was synonymous with you, right? As your form of creative expression, which is what we're here. How did this inform your art and guide it? How did it change it? Because most people give up after 10 years or sometimes, or they say, oh, I don't, but you're still here standing strong. You're breaking barriers. You're continuing to evolve, right? Just any way you want to take that on how your journey continued to go on. What's different from it from when it started to now? What has stayed the
Uh,
same in your
uh,
journey? Because it's a big one, man. And you're
so
still, what I say, fighting the good fight.
I'll give, you know, I had good mentors, man. I had good mentors who, you know, when you start as young as I did, in a
Mm-hmm.
time period when things weren't really catered to
Mm-hmm.
youth in that sense, right? There weren't like, you know, youth writing workshops. There weren't these avenues
Mm-hmm.
to have youth slams or things like that for open mics. It was like you went to the New Eurekan and you hope to get on, you know, you hope to get on.
Yeah, yeah.
Found your
The
10
era.
bucks. You found your 10 bucks. They might call your name. They may not. But I had some really good mentors, you know, and I'll give a shout out to, you know, Willie Perdermo and Tony
Mm.
Medina. Like, those are these two dudes who I looked up to really early on, and they were both political in their own right, right? One telling story and one completely being a leftist. And, you know, the concept of longevity was already instilled with me by the time I was 18, 19.
Mm.
This isn't a sprint. It's a long
Mm.
distance run. Like I completely envisioned myself to be a, you know, a 75-year-old poet. Like that was for me.
Mm. You was playing the long game from the
Yeah, yeah.
jump.
It's like, well, because it's about legacy, right? At a certain point,
Mm.
it's about legacy and uh, what have you contributed to the Puerto Rican canon, to the Puerto Rican literary canon.
Mm.
And, you know, by the time I was 23, 24, I was a vet. I was an OG to, like, because every 5 years you're gonna get a whole new slew of like performers, right?
Yeah,
Cats
yeah.
who come out
It's the
of
eras.
college, they move to New York, you know, they're
Yep.
hungry, and, you know, and they're looking at me and they're older than me and they're like, oh, you know, and they go, this is Bone, you know, Bone's been here forever, and I'm grateful for that, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I definitely, um, I, I definitely get uh, my tunnel vision to see the ending
Mm.
because it was still so early, right? And
Wow.
I seen poets and
Yeah.
artists come and go and change
Yeah.
genres and do whatever they want to do, and that's fine. If that works for you, that's fine. But my foundation is always going to be poetry, and everything that I do is going to come out of that. Whether it's rock and roll, whether it's art, everything's going to be. I'm completely secure and fine in saying that, yeah, he's a poet, and this is
Mm.
what he does.
Mm.
That's why I don't take on extra labels. I don't need to that. I don't need any of that. Like, I'm a poet and a musician, and it took me a long time to feel comfortable taking the title of musician,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's
Same.
about, because you take these titles from the things that you do,
Yeah.
right? And then it's because we all start at one point. We all start at point A, and we're
Yep.
all
Yep.
trash, and we're all trash. It doesn't matter
Yep.
what
You
it is.
have
Whether you're
to
playing
work on the craft.
basketball, whether you're organizing, you're not going to be very good until you put your time in, you put your dues in, you make connections, and you keep pushing through. So then I became a little more comfortable calling myself a musician, knowing how to write a song, having a
Got
band,
you.
doing
Got you.
shows, and, you know, it is about longevity and legacy, and surrounding yourself with this kind of like delusional ambition that says, okay, even if I don't get to where I want to go, I'm just gonna keep
Yeah.
pushing, because
Your commitment.
you know, art is it's not easy. I don't think art is easy at all. I think it allows you to be expressive, but it also opens you up to take so much in that sometimes it becomes overwhelming. And in in performing and trying to be always to stay relevant, like, those things don't, you know, you can't just do that. You can't be a recluse and
Mm-hmm.
do all that. You have to constantly out in the open and um, you know, be in the street.
I
You know,
see. I see. I,
there's mad people, some folks in here that
yeah.
you know, like
Bro, this is lit. This is lit. Anybody, there's a question tab with a circle and a question mark. Toss any questions for Bonafide Rojas here. He's here for y'all. Once again, I couldn't have this conversation without him, without sharing it, because I knew there was going to be gems and jewels. Because I want to reiterate what he just said. This is a way of life. He said from the beginning, he visioned himself as an OG poet. At 25, he saw himself as a veteran. For those of you who visit our lovely city of New York and come in and out, it's very transactional for a lot of people. But those who have roots in the soil, this is where we manifested. This is where our being came, and we know that people will come in and out. That's going to lead me to my next thing. You said something really powerful about your musical journey. It took you a long time to consider yourself a musician. I resonate. I got well known for being nice at the craft of emceeing. I was producing on the low, doing workshops on the low, and it took me a solid 7 years of just like falling on my ass to be like, okay, I can now say this. You know, I'm walking around every place carrying my strat with me. You know, I've went through open mics. I've gone through situations where I felt like quitting, and it was through overcoming those failures where I was able to identify myself. And I was like, if I put in the work, then I can earn this. In your journey into musicianship, right? Because I know I met you as a poet, and I'm guessing some people may know you from that lens. But as I say, interdisciplinary, because you made the connection that everything is still stemming from the root of this. You know, I remember when I started playing the guitar, and people were like, yo, bro, stick to your rapping, bro. And I remember having to face that in my mind. And for a while, I'm not gonna hold you, I put my instrument down and I was like, damn, maybe I'm just not. And then I was like, nah, I know in my spirit I want to do this. It's calling me. And I knew what it took for me to get into it as an MC. So I want you to parallel your journey between being a successful writer and a successful musician and continuing, because the fact that you're still doing makes you a success, by the way. And I want to reinforce that point you made. To create art is a form of radical activism, and I appreciate it. But how did that journey come to you to accept a new partner, embrace it? When I know there's people who know you from your poetry circuit but might not know. I'm just learning about the musician right now. That's why I wanted to hear about it and just see how that journey has been taking you, how vice versa has it influenced your poetry now that you've been a musician, and how is it a symbiotic relationship and just feeding you as a person, man. So take that as you wish, and let it loose.
Man, so I mean, there's a couple of answers, right? The biggest one, and I'm gonna echo what you just said, is that there are people completely, and they've been transparent with me, that they prefer my poetry way over my music, and that's something that I had to come to grips with, because then I just have to say that, well, my music's not for you, and that's completely fine, right? And I know, I get it. Look, I play rock music. I'm a Puerto Rican dude from New York. I play rock music. It's not what you would normally expect. But this is, music has been this deep-seated love of mine since I was like 12, right? And I wanted to play music, but just couldn't afford it. Simple as that. Your mom looks at you like, okay, we're not getting you a guitar, and it's like. And even when I did get my guitar, I still didn't start playing for like a year because I didn't know what to do. And the kind of tunnel vision you need, that I needed, to go, well, I'm just going to do this regardless. And some of the things that, again, are just things that I have to come to terms with, is like that poetry funds the band. The other way around. The band doesn't fund anything in my career. It is a complete labor of love.
That's real.
But poetry funds everything. Right? If I can get a gig in a certain venue that knows me as a poet, I use that to go, okay, great, I'll do the gig. Can the band play also? And they look at me like, what are you guys doing? I was like, oh, we're playing rock music. And they're like, aren't you guys a bunch of Puerto Ricans? I go, yep.
Nice.
And so there's that clip about Rick Rubin saying that, when you make music for yourself. And it's completely true. Like, I'm completely writing these things and making music for myself. I always say that if my son enjoys it, who is a 20-year-old classical musician, if he likes it, I'm good. Like I'm good. You know,
Nice. Wow.
selling a few records would be great, but it's something that I just want to keep doing because it's like I started the band when my son was a toddler because
Wow.
I didn't want to stop pushing things because I was a father.
Mm.
Again, because poetry is poetry. It's
Mm-hmm.
second nature. Like it's not gonna happen. Like I never wanted to be a rapper. I do like DJing. I'm never gonna call myself a DJ, but I do like mixing. I do love playing music
Mm-hmm.
at parties, and that's something that I just enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I was never going to like be a rapper. That just wasn't. That was
Yeah,
never
it
like
wasn't
really
in that
could have been
element
right
wasn't
because I grew
called.
up in an era where all we did was listen to hip hop and rock music, and I lived through the golden
Yeah.
era, and there's all these things. I was like, okay, word, but I just never wanted to be. And being a
Yeah.
guitar player was like, oh yeah, this is what I want to do.
Nice.
And yeah, it's a labor of love, and it's you have to teeter on it because yeah, some people are gonna like it, some people aren't, and
Facts.
but you're never gonna hear someone tell me in my face that they don't like my poetry. I'm like, okay, that's fine. But it's something that um, takes time
Mm-hmm.
to accept because these things, just because you're presenting it doesn't mean they're gonna like cross-pollinate in terms of audience. They're just not going to. Like the poetry audience is a poetry audience. Some of them will cross over into your music, which is completely fine. And if it doesn't, it's fine. I mean,
Ooh.
so that's like the philosophy of it,
Mm-hmm.
right? But 2009, right? Was it
Mm-hmm.
2009? No, it was before that. It was like '07. I I had a show at an old New York spot, and it was my
Mm-hmm.
birthday, and it's like 3 in the morning. This girl I was dating, her car's parked here on my block. I had 2 guitars, my amp, my pedal board, and we were exhausted. So I took my Flying V out,
Mm-hmm.
and I grabbed one of my amps. I was like, I'll just get the rest of the stuff in the morning. So
Mm-hmm.
we get into the building, and I think I made a reference to like, oh, you locked the car, right? She was like, yeah. The next day, it's my birthday. We're ready to go get some food, and the car's gone. Car's stolen. I have
With the flying V inside
no,
and
no.
the
Flying V stayed. Flying
okay,
V,
the amp is gone.
one of my amps is there, and about $3,000 of equipment of my pedal boards in the back.
Oof.
So that was
Okay.
October of that year, and I think I was working at Guitar Center. I was working. So this is '05. And
Nice. This legacy gets deep. I
but
love
I
it.
was I was just like, man, how am I going to replace all this that I've been putting together for 5-6 years?
Mm-hmm.
Right, the whole tonality of my sound changed because I didn't have the proper like things, right? So then that December, um, the cops called her and told her, "Hey, we found your car."
Mm.
It was in Jersey, stripped. The only thing left was the steering wheel and whatever was in the trunk, and I got all my gear
What?
back. I have all my amps still. I have all the pedals I've had since '01, '02, '03, and I tell
Mm.
people that story because I go, that's the only reason why I'm still making music, because no one gets their gear back when it gets stolen.
That was a sign.
And it's one of those things where yeah, I was like, oh, this is wild, like, and I still have the same amp. It was a Fender Hot Rod.
Ooh.
I pulled out was a 4x10 DeVille, which was heavy as hell. But the Hot
Oh.
Rod is still there. My Flying V still there. My pedal board still has some of the same pedals in there. And yeah, the only thing I lost was like an iPod Nano. That's what I
Okay. Shout out to the
I was just
iPods, man.
like, oh, I had
They
an
were the
iPad Nano.
truth.
Man, I was like, oh shit, my vest. I had a really good jean vest
Got it.
that year, but it
Got
didn't
it.
survive. But the
It took some
pedals,
casualties, but the main things were
but
there.
that to get a amp and your pedals.
That's years of acquisition. You said it was coming back for over 5-6 years, from when you
Yeah, I
started
mean,
in early 2000s.
my guitar collection, my whole equipment for some of the musicians who I know who are on it, they know
Yeah.
like this collection is massive. Like I
Wow.
have like 15 guitars, and like,
Oh wow! So
it was a typical
you are a
musician.
collector as well. So yeah, you're a
But for me, it's
connoisseur.
more like, oh well, my son's getting all this, and he knows that. Like
Okay.
he's gotten, he had one of my early Strats. He has a bunch of pedals, but since he plays classical music, he's
Yeah.
just like,
Is he a classical
no, no,
guitarist or
he's a
pianist?
classical cello
Or is
player.
it cello? Okay.
Yeah, he's a
Shout out to the
cello
cellist.
player. But he plays bass, plays guitar, plays
Got
keys.
it.
He basically has the musical composition and education that I would have hoped for.
Yeah. So you were able to pass that on. That's so huge,
His mother and I were real particular about whatever.
man.
I want him to play piano first, but she started him on cello, which is cool because his left hand is
Okay.
serious. Like his
Getting
left
in.
hand is
My
serious.
man, y'all know
He started
cellos ain't got no frets. You got to go on through by
no,
that ear. You got to get it
yeah,
in.
he's great. He's great. But I'm always like, hey, hurry up, join the band, and he's like, all right, you gonna put me on bass? I go, yep. He's a jazz singer.
Yeah, nice, nice. Well, we got some questions that are popping in for you, Bonafide. They're lit, so I want to make sure that we honor our guests. So the first question is, somebody's got a gig for you, you know what I mean? Azucara Poesta 205 is there. And also ask, are you featuring anywhere in the fall and do you plan on touring?
Featuring when?
Are you just featuring any upcoming gigs or
Yeah,
upcoming stuff? What's coming up for you?
I'm doing a panel discussion next week on the 1st with Creative Soul House. It's called, if you go on their page called Creative Soul House, I'm doing their panel on the 1st. And then the 9th, I have the book party at, it's on 160th and Riverside at the Word Up Bookstore. Has a space called Recirculation. And the book party for Excelsior is going to be February 9th. After that, I'm going out of town. I'm going to London for a few weeks. And then April is a bunch of shows. So just, make sure you follow the page, which I'm assuming you already do. But February 9th, if you want to pull up to the February 9th for the book party at Recirculation, is on 160th and Riverside.
I love it, brother. And also, you got my email now. Anytime you have any events you want us to put on the creative expression, this is my goal now, to build that hub that we didn't have when we was coming up, because it was all word of mouth. It was the flyer era. I used to go to Fat Beats and snatch every flyer and be like, all right, where am I going this week? Immortal Technique. What's happening over here? Oh, snap. Flaco Navaja's there with the salsa band, with the razor blades. I'm out there. And then that's how I seen it. We got another question for you, my brother, which comes from JS1, and he's saying he's got a couple, but the first one was, when did you fall in love with graffiti?
Oh, shit. Graffiti was the summer of 1990. I was 12 years old. Yeah, I dated myself. I was 12 years old, and I'm on the concourse. I'm on the Grand Concourse. There's nothing but graffiti.
Yeah.
And I was writing. I was in my boy's house, who lived in the building, and I was just writing through possible names, and there was a baseball pitcher who got traded from either the Mets to the Yankees or Yankees to the Mets. It was a crosstown trade, and I took his last name, and that's how I got my tag. I'm not gonna tell you what the tag is because I don't out myself like that.
True graph head
always thought
stuff.
about getting another name for it, but I go, nah, it's fine. But that's how I started writing graffiti, and I wrote graffiti for about, give or take, about 10 years. We had my crew, this crew that I'm with is called TCK. This is one of the stories we don't like talking about. We had got arrested in Philadelphia because we went out there for a Mumia Abu Jamal rally. And then we got arrested on the way out of Philly, and it was such a big thing. And that didn't even stop me from writing graffiti, because I've been arrested for graffiti a couple times. But the week later, I think I stole a black book from like a Barnes and Nobles, and I got caught, and I had a warrant for my arrest. And I was like, man, I can't keep doing graffiti out here. Like, I was already in my 20s, and Giuliani was already in office, right? So when we think about how Giuliani changed the perspective of how graffiti was looked at, right? Dinkins didn't give a shit about if he was doing graffiti. One of my best friends, my guy and his best friend, he got caught, and the cops made him spray his hands and then put his hands on his face, and that was like that's how you got caught. Now, you get arrested a couple of times, you might actually do a jail bit for graffiti.
Yeah. Vandal Squad
And
came out.
the conversation about graffiti, I get philosophical with graffiti because I do feel it is a outside of art. It is vandalism, but it's also like this odd fight against capitalism
Yeah.
and how we look at property. And it's a very long conversation, but I do feel like it is like one of the purest forms of expression
Ooh.
because we're doing it with the ability of not with permission.
Mm.
And there's a couple graffiti writers here. A couple
Yeah,
of
I see. We got like
my guys,
KSGK. Yeah, we seen the crews.
man, vote, vote. I just want to tag you the other day.
Yeah.
I was like, look at vote.
Yeah. So we got another question from JS1, which says, "When did you and Mona Passage begin to play?"
Okay. Mona Passage was has been the only band I ever created. I was living in Chicago, so this is probably like 03, and I was probably practicing, and I was reading a dictionary, and I got to Mona Passage, and the Mona Passage is a strait of water that separates the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. It's right where Mona Island is, and it's a strait of water. It's it's a strait, so you can't cross that part of the ocean or the sea without a strong enough boat. And if you look things up with the Mona Passage, there have been some Dominicans who have tried to migrate into Puerto Rico, and if the boat's not strong enough, they will sink. So at the time, my co-founder was this Dominican guitar player from the Heights, and I was like, well, this makes complete and utter sense. I was like, this is it. So it was like a real light bulb. I was like, and then I didn't start the band physically until 05. And it was me, my guitar player, and my cousin Jason, who played drums. And we weren't that good, right? I do feel like the biggest hurdle I had to overcome in the band was separating poetry and music, because I didn't want people to come see a rock band and think they're going to get poetry out of it.
Got it.
And that was a really
to make sure they knew
big
the
thing for me.
difference.
I wanted the band to succeed or fail on its own merits, on its own legs. And I had my boy Joe Vega is from New York, from Queens, and he had a couple bands, and he was like, well, why don't you put them together? And I was like, because this isn't a poetry band.
Yeah.
Like if you're thinking you're gonna hear like some Gil Scott or like some Last Poets.
Yeah, where it was the band.
My guitar is very loud. It is a bit abrasive. It's not metal, but it's still loud enough to make you go, that's a lot. But only now have I gotten comfortable with like doing straight poems in the middle of our set. And then that took almost like 10-15 years for me to be like, okay, we can do this now. We can do this now. Like I have no problem opening the set with poetry, and then the band plays, because now it's like, it's just, I was really particular about that. That's a philosophical thing where it's like, this isn't a poetry band. This isn't a poetry band. This is a rock band that just happens to be, has a poet who's playing guitar and does vocals sometimes.
That's amazing, man.
And that was a hurdle. Like I had to, like, that
it
was
was an evolution.
That was the real thing I had to like really talk about, because I didn't want people to come here and go, oh, you didn't read any poetry today. I was like, well, the band's playing today.
Yeah.
I mean, look, as much as I love Dylan and Lou Reed, some of the songs were poetry songs, but that is not the focus of the track.
Yeah.
The track is the instrumentation, and then the lyrics, and then everything together. Plus, I always wanted to show my drummer off. My drummer was great. I'm not going to subject him to doing a little like.
That goes great into another question we got for you, brother, in regards to your publishing. High Street Style asks, are you self-published?
I'm both.
Okay.
I'm both. Right?
Break that down.
Now, the poet and the musician is going to answer this.
Okay,
right?
let's do it.
So there is this interesting philosophy about being self-published, right? That they call it vanity publishing, and I always found it very interesting that people want to talk about people who are either delusional enough or confident enough to self-publish when you don't do the same thing when a musician does that. When a musician puts out a mixtape, that's self-publishing.
Yeah,
When a musician
facts.
puts out a single on his own, that's self-publishing.
Yeah,
There's no label there. Why
big
do I
facts.
need the validation of anyone if the artist, right? We'll talk about me. If I feel confident enough, and if I feel like I put in all the time I needed to, I don't need someone else to validate me. Or the fact that I don't need someone to tell me what I needed to do when they don't know what my audience looks like, right? So there is a very thin line in that where, look, I've had things published. I've had other people publish it. I looked at the field, and when I presented some projects to small houses who were maybe like a step above me or 2 steps above me, say this is 2024, and they'll see a project, go, okay, great, we'll put it out in 2026. Well, explain to me why I need to do this for 2 years. Like, this is ready to go. I'm ready to go on tour next week, and let's go. And that's how I created the press. The press is called Grand Concourse Press, but it came out of like not necessity, but it was something that I was like, cool. Like, it was no second. Like, I already had the network. I already had the contacts.
Yeah.
No one, like, when I do these things, I'm literally almost doing this by myself until I get to a point of asking folks, hey, get me this gig. Can you take me to this person? And then with the music, same thing. Me and the band are paying for the studio time. We're paying for the engineer, and then we're doing all the work after that. But the only difference is there's no middleman.
Grassroots.
Right? And and then with music, as you get your distro kid, you get your distribution, and you go to Bandcamp, which I really do enjoy. Bandcamp.
Bandcamp is the truth, y'all.
Hope they don't mess it up, because Bandcamp has made things like just accessible to be like, hey, just go to Bandcamp and
artist centered. You could sell a single for $5 or $1 like the old days and make, what would you get? 20,000 or 50,000 streams and that. So like,
I have never made money on streaming.
That's it.
So Rebelline, New York City makes a strong point about when someone publishes you, they take a cut of your work, and I eradicated that.
Yes.
I eradicated that. So I know there are avenues that not every writer or every publishing house care about, right? Whether it's buying it offline, things like that. I don't have any qualms with any of that, right? If we are talking about accessibility, this is what the internet is giving me. The internet is giving me accessibility. The same, whether it's Amazon, BarnesandNobles.com, Apple, Spotify, if it's there, that's all it needs to be. Because everything else, because again, the labels and publishing houses are not going to give me a promotional budget. Here you go. Here's, how do you want to, they're not going to give me,
we got to do these kind of things.
So it's like, well, what are you really here for? Besides taking cuts from my record or cuts from my book. Now, that doesn't mean I don't want to get signed, right? Because now at this point in my career and as a writer, if I go to a bigger house, all I'm doing is taking that network. And then I already have a series of books and things that I will sell at these shows on top of what I already did, further enhancing what I want to do. And and it's it is a long game, like long-term big game, but I tell people the only thing I need in my career right now is a booking agent. That's it.
Wow.
That's all I need. I don't need a manager, because the manager, you want your manager to have more contacts.
You got
they don't, and a lot of times they don't, because I've been doing it for so long. Like, or cool, if my manager doesn't, well, so how are you helping me get to that next step? You always want the people in your corner. How will you get me to the next step? When my single came into the band, literally, he took songs that I had for 5-6 years as a riff. Came back 2 days later with lyrics, and I was like, okay, I can't do that. Oh, hit the melody. Oh shit, here we go. Right? Shouts to my man Yabe. He's probably out hanging out. But he came, I saw that as like, okay, we're going to push this forward, and I'm going to change the way I approach writing music, because he's a singer. Right? He's looking for melody. He's looking for these things. I look at it in terms of a rhythm point. Like, okay, here's the bars. We're going to do 16 here, 32 here, and then we'll do a bunch of solos over here. So like that, I saw that as a benefit, right? As a way we can move forward But in terms of like, no, I just need a booking agent. So if they this, because I told someone like I have no problem paying a booking
Yeah.
agent. If you get paid, I get paid, and we move, and that's it.
That's
So
great.
they're
No, you're dropping wisdom, my brother. I think so many people, I just want to reiterate some of these gems. And that's why I knew we had to have this combo this way. Cause bro, if we just had this on the phone, I'm learning, or just at your spot, I'm learning now in our journey how all that power is all power to the people. All power lies within the people. But we get undersold on our value, and then we give away sometimes subconsciously our power because we don't feel like we have these things. But you were like, nah, I'm good on this. I'm good on this. I'll take one of those and two of these. Like, I can understand how this could enhance what you've built. And I want to reinforce another thing you said. You have a 30+ year of working, doing what you've doing, collaborating, open your minding to expanding the band with another singer or all these things. And that's where a lot of people hit what I call the glass ceiling. And this goes into another question DJ Slowpoke threw in the chat that said, who are some of your musical heroes and or sheroes in this game?
So Slowpoke's a DJ out from Los Angeles. He has a great party on Mondays, Motown on Mondays. I love that party.
Shout it
But
out.
my musical heroes, my God. So we start with like two of the first ones was the Beatles, right? It was the Beatles and Hendrix. Those are the first two that made me want to like start playing music.
Gotcha.
I mean, of course, we all want to play music because of Hendrix, right? We all want to play. We can never play guitar like him, but we all want to learn, right?
Yeah.
And like I break it in from 77, so it's pre 77 and post 77 because I just feel music changed so differently with the advent of hip hop and punk, right? It just changed of
Big
everything.
shift.
So it's the Beatles, Hendrix, Floyd, Black Sabbath, Zeppelin, Dylan, right? I think those I can stop there and Queen, right? Those seven, yeah, those seven
That's a
are the
power
ones
seven.
I still play them all the time. Like they're brand new, like oh my god,
Yeah.
right? And then after that, I'm taking Radiohead, Nirvana, the Mars Volta, Rage Against the Machine, and this is all like by 99, right? These are all these bands that have influenced how I approach things. I mean, I should have totally been in a band that was like Rage Against the Machine when I was 21. Like that was like because the poetry I'm doing is political. I wasn't a performer, more like a loudspeaker, like a lecturer. And people were like, "Yo, you sound like this dude." I was like, "That's fine, it's a compliment." But yeah, those bands. I mean, and then and then I go into like I love Miles Davis's Electric Period.
Oh wow.
I love jazz fusion, right? But these things were more just like me observing because I'm not gonna play guitar like John McLaughlin. I'm not, I'm not gonna play bass like Jocko. That's just is physically and just like again that education that they have is completely different. Someone who's self-taught, but my admiration for that has always been ridiculously. Pro Jam when I got older. Jice. My boy Jice asked about Pro Jam. But like Seattle in general, right? Soundgarden, Pro Jam, Alice in Chains, the Melvins, all those bands from these eras like, Guns N' Roses. And I've seen a lot of bands. I've seen almost every band and musician that was alive. I've seen almost all of them. The only ones I haven't seen yet were I never saw Eric Clapton. I think he stopped touring for a while. And who else? And that's it. And everyone else I've seen. I've seen Paul McCartney. I've seen Black Sabbath. I've seen Jimmy Page play with the Black Crowes. I saw Roger Waters at Yankee Stadium do The Wall. I saw Biggie. I saw Tribe Called Quest. I saw Public Enemy. I saw Radiohead. I've seen all these bands, and there was a documentary I saw once that said that we're living in a point where the audience doesn't look at the artist in the same field of, oh wow, I can never do that. That the audience looks at musicians now and go, oh, I can do that. I don't believe that. There are still bands out there that go, oh, I can't do that. But I feel like if you give me the tools and the resources. Oh yeah, I can be like, my biggest thing when I talk to people about music is you just have to be ready to put the work in, and you have to put the work in, and you have to have the ambition to always go, well, no, we can be better. But again, sometimes it's simple as you know, you're not in the right scene, right? The venue you went to didn't promote your show correctly, or they gave you a shitty day. You know, and it's those things are the things that um, that I feel with the band is like, cool, I'm gonna utilize every kind of avenue I can so that more people can see the band, because you know someone's gonna like it. I don't care where it's at. Oh well, we're big in Australia. Bye, we out. You know, let's go. You know, I'm out. We're going to Australia. You know, and
Wow.
but those, you know, and we've been able to, you know, perform, whether it's me and Yabe as a duet, because you know we can't either bring the band out. You
Mm-hmm.
know, me and Yabe have been. We went to Europe. We performed all over Europe. We did
Mm-hmm.
Puerto Rico. And you know, the next move, you know, again, now I go back to financials, right? Taking a
Mm-hmm.
whole band on the road is not
Yeah,
cheap. That's what it is.
that is.
That it is a logistical nightmare
Yeah.
if that is not what your forte is.
Yep.
Yeah. So
That's fact.
we're going to LA in May.
Wow.
Like that's like, I'm taking the band
Wow,
in
bro.
May,
Man,
and
you
you know,
live up
have to
to
be
it, my
open.
brother.
But you know, these are all labors of love, because you know people have real jobs. We got to take
Mm-hmm.
vacation time. Who's gonna take care of your kid while you're
Yep.
gone? All the
It's
logistical
real.
things. And if you're not already getting paid up front for it, you just have to like, all right, let's see what happens. You know, and that's, I think, to me, that's always the biggest thing.
Whew.
But putting records and writing music is, I love it to death. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Wow,
Even though I have
man. Well, you are.
insecurity, I still have insecurities about these things.
But you are doing it. You know, courage is going through things not in the absence of fear, but with it. And that's what I love about your journey, man. You are so present in knowing thyself, and you're like, this is where my heart is, this is the reality pill of what these pillars of my existence are, and this is how I'm going to navigate it. This might do this for me, this might do that for me, but I'm going to show all of me. And that's what I think is the revolutionary essence of an artist. The questions are pouring in, brother. We got a couple more for you. My homegirl Zuby Blue, amazing visual artist, and she's actually a drummer out there in Bristol. I was just out there doing some stuff with the J Dilla Foundation. Shout out to you, Zuby, for holding us down with our kitchen game. She asks the specific question of, do you ever get creative block? And if so, how do you get through those blocks?
I mean, yeah, yeah. To me, the metaphor is that the well is empty, right? The well is empty, and you have to refill it. But I also feel like you should always practice, right? You should always practice, regardless if it's, you know, you're running through a bunch of scales. I I warm up with really hard guitar players to follow, and I go, oh, let me see how much I can get out of this, because it's important to always keep your dexterity up, and make sure your hands are always loose, because you never know when a show is going to come up. In terms of writing, I definitely don't write every day the way I do, but when I do have a project that's in motion, I push myself harder, and I feel like the blocks can be there, but you have to kind of like work around them, because you're working towards the end goal, and that's what deadlines are good for.
Mm-hmm.
Deadlines make you feel more attuned to finishing things than it would be if it was just out in the open. You know, if it's a loose, if it's a loose goal, cool. You know, I'm gonna get to it. I get to it. No, no, no. If the deadline is the first, you have to. You
Yep.
know, for Excelsior, I was breaking night. I broke night editing and doing things for poetry in years, and I was like, okay, cool. I still got it. I know I can still do this, but I think
Oof.
having deadlines and goals, hard ones that you have to answer for, those things are important, because it pushes you, and that focus like becomes like a laser focus, where it's like, I need to finish this song.
Mm.
I need to get this riff down. Like, you know, again, soft deadlines allows you to be soft. Hard deadlines allow you to be hard, and running towards the end of the line.
Brother, you are a gift to us, man. Like, I
I
just
promise
want to
I'm
say
not
how
taking the
moved I
same
am by
sentiment.
you just being yourself, my dude. And this is what I wanted to show more of. This hour's moving by like grease lightning, man. So I knew it, and thank you for carving out
Yeah,
time because this
yeah,
this
no, no,
guy, y'all,
my
if
pleasure.
anybody who's from coming from my side, please look this man up. This dude, I consider him a guide and a figure in the New York art scene. You know, to he just showed love. My whole thing is why not show love? And this brother, from the day I met him, it was like we knew each other for 15 years and was just there. And I didn't see him in maybe almost a decade, but when I saw him at the Apollo, and this is gonna get us into this section, it was just love. He was there. He had his book. He's like, "Why I dropped another book?" I'm like, "Of course you got another book." You know, that's a true artist lifestyle. This is something you live. I wanted to make sure, brother, the whole space for you, either if you want to express a poem, say anything, shit, bust a riff down, whatever you want to express in your creative expression, because you are it, man. I am blessed to see you in a certain way and have those gaps and know that you are fighting a mighty fight of love, in my opinion. And you are an inspiration to so many of us. I want to thank everybody who's just showing love. Yo, I know Bone, Bone. I love the nickname.
Yeah,
You know, some people know you
good
as
to have her.
Bone.
Good to
Some
have
people are coming in. And like you are highly loved, seen, heard, and respected, my dude, for who you are. And we are greater than our art. But I do need to hold space for you in whatever way you might want to. If there's something you want to say, if you want to bust a legendary piece, you know, promote the tour, whatever you got, man. I really want to, I can't not do that for you. And then, of course, any links you got for me, make sure you email them to me. And when we put this on YouTube, we'll put it all in the description for where they can get your book, where they can get the info. And you and I are going to lock in and, you know, we're going to put in some time. I'm back in the Boogie Down. I was there yesterday. I'm back on the 30th. But yeah, please hold space for yourself in whatever way you might want to express yourself, whether through thoughts, music, uh, your poetry, whatever you want to do, man. We got to hold space for you as the artist you are, because you are a super amazing talent to us. And I'm honored that you took the time out of your schedule. You
her.
didn't
It's my
try to
pleasure,
hit me
honestly.
for that. You was just like, you just said, yeah. And I was like, nah, I got to make a flyer. I got to make a thing. I got to put some music behind this dude. And like you put the battery in my back to do something I've never done before with this. And you're an inspiration. I want to thank all the people that are here, staying here. This convo never went under 10 people. This is probably the biggest thing, you know, and it's just because this man shows love and he lives something and he is grounded in his reality. I always want to reinforce some of the gems he said. Never stop. Whatever different disciplines you think, you do not have to hide them. See how they could create a symbiotic relationship to each other. There's just so much in this. So please, if you didn't catch the whole thing, dive into this. I'm gonna pass the mic to my brother to allow him to grace us with whatever his creative spirit chooses.
So I'm gonna look at the chat real quick. I have a few poems by memory that are mine, and I have like this one short Neruda poem, I believe, that's memorized. I leave my memorization for songs because I feel like my brain has so much shit going on in it that I also like reading from books and from paper, so that's like a big thing. To La Bonita Chola from London. Yeah, I do like Heroes in Silencio, Soda Stereo, and like that uh, early 2000, late 90s, like rock en español, that came out of Central America and Mexico. My man Duffy played in the band for a little bit with me. Um, folks, everybody, I see you. All right, so we are. So the book is called Excelsior. Um, it is theoretically a 20-year remix of my first book, Bella Bueno, which was published by a press out of Massachusetts and Virginia and Maryland, Virginia. And I had a poem in there called 25 Years In. And last year when I read it, I laughed because I was like, wait, so that means this poem is 20 years next, like, like I wrote it and I wrote it in '04, and I was like, so this poem is like 20 years old. I go, that's crazy. So I wanted to put together a collected works of like old and new poems, and that poem got remixed into 45 years in. That was a joke, and I'm gonna read that. I can get it under 5 minutes.
Get it in, my dude. Take it down.
I am still the future of my past memories, a complex simpleton, a walking paradox, sleeping beauty, never to wake, waiting for Princess Charming. I'm a movable feast, the neon wilderness, the bastard child of Nuyorican poetry, a Garcia Marquez character drowning in the light, a Camus character blinded by the sand, Neruda's tiny captain of a valiant corpse, and Lorca's laments and twilights of Coney Island. I'm a rock and roll Puerto Rican, Hendrix machine gun solo, the walrus, the crazy diamond, the Karma Police, a funky stacks bassline, a Motown 3-part harmony, Fania all-star salsa, Aguanille, Dylan's nasal delivery, Coltrane's main vein, and 10% of Jeff Buckley's voice, because 10% is better than 0. I'm a South Bronx boogie down production, a Tribe Called Quest, electric relaxation, Outkast's Roses, and Wu-Tang's 36 Chambers. A breakbeat that's been recycled with 90s grunge, 80s new wave, 70s heavy metal, and 60s psychedelia. I'm Picasso's Guernica, Dali's persistence of melting clocks, Frida's body cast, and Basquiat's copyright C. I'm a New York City skyline with a heavy Bronx accent standing on the corner of 161st and the Grand Concourse. I still ride the trains because I don't know how to drive. I don't hop the trains anymore, but I never stopped listening to music, and I play the meanest air guitar you've ever seen. I'm an empty graph piece, an empty spray can, a pocket full of markers, a typical city kid, a funk superhero, and one of the 5 million hoods. I am Jesus / Weird Al, Sideshow Bob, and Be Real all in one. I'm the missing member of Bone Thugs and Harmony. The punchline made after every long-haired joke after 95. An extra on Welcome Back Kotter, and the leader of the Black Guerrilla Army, Vatos Locos, We Live Forever. I'm the Puerto Rican who wasn't Puerto Rican enough for other Puerto Ricans. So I stand in between an obituary and Nigerican blues, trying to find a place to stand. So I created my own space. I'm not the same hands that wrote poems at 18, 28, or 38, gained new perspective, allowed myself to be, lost family and friends, grown past what I was obsessed about, actually moved out of New York, only to return to realize I would never really move. I'll just keep an apartment here. I got rent control. I know there's still ways to go as a poet. I know I have miles in this life. I'm not tired yet. I'm not a Black Panther or a Young Lord. I'm not Che Guevara or Carlos Santana. Stereotypes are strange cliches. People don't think I'm a hippie, a hipster, or a beatnik anymore, but they still have a weird opinion on how I dress because I'm from the Bronx. It may not always go hand in hand, but who cares? Do they remember the suit, the fedora, the pointy shoes, my dandy phase? I'm not sure if I created Bonafide or Bonafide created me. I'm still dreaming about tomorrow, still loving this life I created, still crying at the movie, still growing my hair out, and this journey has been worthy of writing, with so many leaps and bounds, peaks and valleys, highs and lows, and that's what makes it all enjoyable. It's just as hard as the day as it started. Tomorrow will be easier. Bills have their name on them, but so do the books, the records, the marquee, and the flyers. It's been 5 years since my mother passed, and everything looks different. So different now. I still write poems and songs in my black books instead of drawing. Still poetically inclined with an artistic mindset. Genuine, original, authentic, bona fide. Thank you.
Oh my, wow, brother. Man, you are a gift, and this dude is a pro. This 159 on the dot. This guy couldn't be a pro if he tried. This is love. This is, man, brother. What's the name of that piece, please? Let us know.
45 years in.
This man is a legacy. You are a legend, my dude. Like I said, I'm an honor. I am honored to be in your presence, and I was like, I knew it. I just knew it. You called in my soul. I was like, anything this man says, I'm gonna need to document this. You know, I picked up the axe and just started playing behind you, man, because you are someone that deserves. And you got the SG looking crispy. Let's go back. We're about to get the jam. See what happens. Plug that sucker in and let's see what's up. But man, bro, I'm honored. We're gonna ride out with some music. For those of you guys tune in, follow his page. Once this is up on YouTube, Brother Bone, email me all the links that you want in the description. So when that gets uploaded, I will send you that with the email blast that I configured and pre-created for you. So if you need to promote yourself, this is now how I've stepped up. I want to give people their flowers while they're here. You are someone who has not only inspired me, but you have inspired the city. You represent a legacy of Nuyorican art that needs to be echoed, amplified, just like that hot rod that came out of the trunk, man. You know, it made it back to you in the shores of Jersey and made its way back to the boogie down. So please, man, bless us with a little more. I know we're at time, so I want to respect your time, but
No, that's cool.
please continue to express.
I just want to tell people, you know, follow the band. The band's called the Mona Passage. You know,
I'm writing it in, yeah.
yeah, just follow them in. Like we'll work on another record, right? We're going on the road, see what happens, you know. And you know, I just want to let people know. Thanks for staying. Thanks for sticking around. And you know, we'll catch you on the flip. You already know.
All right. The bone, bust it loose if you called. If you called to do it, like
one nice chord.
that's it. Yeah. Listen to that sustain. Let those notes sink into your heart. This man is an artivist. He uses his art to activate others. He's done it. He has done it, and he continues to do it. His son, man, he's got a son coming up as a musician, 20 years old. He's still pushing with the band. Look up the Mona Passage. Check out all his books. If you haven't already, tap that follow button on Bonafide Rojas. He's right here in this. He is someone who lives it, man. And if y'all could take anything, do it. Just keep on doing it. It's left foot in front of right foot. It's one word after the next. It's one letter after the next. These are things that he has taken for him, a legacy of 40 plus years to continue. He said some of these ideas were remixed from 20 years ago. That song sitting on your hard drive, take it out, y'all. That's why I needed this man to have a conversation where people could hear, because we need to hear this message. I want to thank every single person who took their time to join this. I want to honor my brother's time for being here. Check him out. Go to all his links. The information's right there. Send him a DM. Artists need this, and we're tired. We're not out here begging for views. We're not out here doing this. We are existing. We are a part of our city's culture. We are the fabric. We are the change we are looking for. And this is what artivism is to me. And I want to thank you to Mr. Bonafide Rojas for spending this afternoon. He could have been anywhere, but he took a Friday to just come out, get that Excelsior book. It's out right now. I got to cop myself a copy of that, you know, and support. Remember, support these artists. Go to their Bandcamp, go to their stuff, buy their records, go to their shows. And just giving that acknowledgement means so much. Anyone who's taking the time to view this, know that your value, the power of one, is stupendous. It was one conversation in the Point in the Bronx that sparked me and this dude connecting. And even though a lot of time has passed since these moments, we continued where we off, like pressing pause on a movie and hitting play. I look forward to linking up with you, brother, and seeing how we could jam and create. I'm back in the Boogie Down on the 30th. Y'all hit the links and stay in touch. If you want to be featured on a series that this man right here inspired right here, hit me up, because I just caught that wave and ride with it. Never crumble up your papers and throw them away. Keep everything you have, and when you can look back at it and build your legacy, the value is always found in the creators. We are created by a creator to create. So know that that's here. I'm already yapping and giving this man as much love as I can. He's got me on overtime 4 minutes. I gotta make sure the Bronx goons don't come after me for holding him too long, because he's got a good heart. He just showed pure love. Everything I sent him, he threw a little heart emoji on, and I was like, this is my fucking guy right here. And I want him to be the definition of showing that love, because he lives it and he does it. He did not have to take time to do this. And just remember, anybody watching this, you have the power, whether that's creating a poetry jam in your living room, whether it's using these tools that were not there 20 years ago when me and this dude was getting started. They were not here. But when you see something you like and you feel that, build community through the arts. And that's what the mission of these Artivist Talks and Creative Expressions is. I'm going to send you a thank you email, Bonafide, and any information if you want us to put you either as a community partner or an artivist on our site, so people could find out if they come to our hub. They could look at your profile and get a link to what you do. Or if you're looking for any more community work, doing the speaks, the keynotes, the poetry joints, we want to shed light as a company onto. I want to give some thank yous to Ayano, our creative director, and Liz, who inspired She did a lot of the back end work with some of the things to help me get this promo out there. Every single person who's still in the chat, let me shout y'all out. House of Nova is here. Life Through My Lens is in the building. A Boo Boo 88 is in the building. DJ Slowpoke is in the building. And Ja 209916. We smell you, we see you, we feel you because we are you. And indigenous cultures that come in. I love you translates to I am you. See a part of ourselves. That spring equinox is coming in where this is a time of rebirth. Whatever you got, whether it's one poem, one song, or 1,000,000 songs or poems, you deserve to be heard, and Creative Expressions wants to be an outlet for that. At this point, I'm just dragging in and holding my brother up and keeping him here. Any last words, Mr. Bonafide Rojas, for the community, for the people, and then we'll call it at that.
Just be safe, enjoy your weekend, and create something.
Peace and love.
Peace.
Be in touch. Enjoy. Have a great weekend, y'all.